So UFC Fight Night, Almeida versus Lewis is this weekend in Brazil, and I'm going to be giving you guys my breakdowns and predictions on the fights that I'm most looking forward to on the card. Starting off with the prelims, let's go and get right into it. Elizeu Zaleski dos Santos versus Rinat Fakhredinov. Now, Zaleski has beaten Abubakar Nurmagomedov and Benoit Saint-Denis in back-to-back fights. But the win over Benoit Saint-Denis, while dominant, has a bit of an asterisk next to it because Benoit Saint-Denis was so undersized in that fight, and he's since moved down to division. But I'll give it to Dos Santos. He did put a fucking beating on Benoit Saint-Denis, who's a tough son of a bitch. But yeah, Dos Santos has fought 4 times since 2020, and he's been decently active. He went 3-1, only losing to Muslim Selikov. So yeah, he's pretty skilled, so he's got impressive wins over guys like Benoit Saint-Denis, and he has that highlight reel KO over Sean Strickland back in the day. But Renat's just a different animal, and is one of the hottest prospects in the sport, and I think he's the best fighter outside of the top 15 at welterweight. And yeah, he's on a 17-fight win streak, 3 in the UFC, coming off that sub-60-second, demolition job of Kevin Lee, like burying Kevin Lee in the graveyard. And then he had previously 30-25 to Brian Battle, who was also pretty talented, in my opinion. So yeah, I see we're not getting it done by way of finish, probably submission early in the second round, or possibly in the first if he's able to catch Zaleski with a big shot like he did against Kevin Lee, which was because of the takedown threat, which I could see happening. I could see the takedown threat opening up a big right hand for Rinat that almost puts away Zaleski or puts him down or hurts him and leads to the sub in the first. But other than that, I see him getting him down in the first, touching him up on the feet, and then in the second, he gets him down and gets the sub. So yeah, I'm going to pick round 2 sub for Rinat Fakhredinov. Now, the next fight I'm going to be going over is Victor Hugo versus Daniel Marcos. Now, Marcos is an undefeated prospect, that is true, but he was getting outstruck pretty badly by Davey Grant, and he only won on damage because Grant cuts so easily, similar to like a Nate Diaz kind of thing where the scar tissue from all the fights makes him cut so easily. So yeah, he did win, but it wasn't that impressive of a performance. But to be fair, Grant is skilled and he is dangerous, like no pun intended, that's his nickname and shit. But he was very dangerous. His finishing potential is off the charts, as we saw in his fight with Sun Sao. And Hugo isn't undefeated, but he is on a 12-fight win streak with a lot of momentum. And only 3 of those wins are decisions. Well, 2 of them aren't on Tapology. It just says win, so I don't know if they're finishes or not, but I'll give them the benefit of the doubt, and I'll say how only 3 of them have been decisions. The other 7 have been finishes, and there's 2 that we don't know. But yeah, I think if Marco goes out there and tries to point fight with Hugo, who has a very, very dangerous style, I could see him getting caught, and I think that Hugo has the advantage on the ground, especially with his sub threat. I think he's one of those guys like a Oliveira kind of guy on the ground where he's not looking to stall. He's looking to get you in a position and look for a sub or look for an elbow. Or he's looking to do damage and hunt for subs. And I just think that Marco has a more defensive kind of ground game. And it's not like his ground game is terrible and his takedown defense is good. But I feel like there's just a really big difference in the ground game and the intention of the ground game. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to take a risk and I'm going to pick Hugo inside the distance. Because I'm really high on Victor Hugo. I really think he's good, and he has dangerous striking, dangerous grappling. But I could see Marcos edging on a decision. I'm not going to lie, I could. But Marcos isn't that impressive to me. I don't hold him as in high regards in terms of undefeated fighters in the UFC. I would never list him as one of the best ones. So, yeah, I'm going to pick Hugo inside the distance. I'm going to take a risk on this one, go for a bit of a wild card. Elvis Brenner versus Esteban Ribavicius. Now, Esteban has one-shot KO power. He has multiple early round 1 KOs on his record, and he even got one on the Contender Series. But Brenner has tremendous heart and grit, and as was shown in his dramatic comeback win over Guram a few months back, he's hittable, though, which the Guram fight showed. So an early KO is possibly on the cards for Esteban, but Brenner showed an ability to be able to take some serious damage and then continue hunting and not get discouraged. So I'm going to pick Brenner to win by decision, possibly late round 3 TKO. Possibly Esteban could catch him because he is hittable and he does have KO power, but I don't know if I wouldn't put money on that. I would definitely pick Brenner by decision or late finish. Let's move on to the next fight. Ismael Bonfim versus Vince Pichel. Now, Bonfim is coming off of an upset loss to Benoit Saint-Denis, which was an unexpected one, after scoring a highlight reel KO over fan favorite Terrence McKinney back in the last card that happened in Brazil. Him and his brother Gabriel have quickly become very hyped prospects for their impressive showings on the Contender Series, where they both won. Pichel is legit. He's only lost to guys like Gregor Jalepsy when he was undefeated. Rustam Khabilov back in 2012. And then Mark Madsen, who's like isn't like legit, but he's not like a can. So like it's not like he's losing to bums, but he's 40 and he's not that active. So I'm going to go with Ismail Bonfim by round 1 finish, possibly early round 2 if Pichel withers the early onslaught. But I'm going to lean take KO TKO over sub in round 1, maybe early round 2 for Bonfim. Now, the next fight we're going to go over is Vitor Petrino versus Modestas Bukauskas. So Modestas Bukauskas recently came back to the UFC after getting that brutal oblique kick leg snap off of Khalil Roundtree. And he came back, fought Tyson Pedro, beat him, which is a bit of a shocker. And it's a good win, but he does have a first-round knockout loss to Jimmy Crute, whose striking is like pretty much like bottom of the barrel for the like some of the worst striking in the UFC at like the higher like ish level of the sport, like not just on bottom with not just early prelim cans, like guys that are actually fighting. Like he fought like Paul Craig and Jamal Hill, like he's fighting legit guys, and his striking is terrible. And he knocked out Modestas Bukauskas early in the first. So if you're getting knocked out like that against Jimmy Crute, and you're going up against a guy like Vitor Petrino, who has dangerous KO power, wicked counters, yeah, I think he's going to find the chin of Modestas pretty early, and I think he's going to put him away in round 1 by way of knockout. The next fight I'm going to be going over is Rodolfo Vieira versus Armen Petrosyan. Now, this is an interesting one because it's the classic, grappler versus striker matchup. Petrosyan is a very good kickboxer. His takedown defense isn't the best. He only has a 36% takedown defense in the UFC. Not great. And then Vieira is a great BJJ player with a relentless takedown game. But the only person who's been able to hold down Petrosyan is Caio Borralho. Like, the only person who's been able to get the takedowns on him consistently and then hold him down is Caio Borralho. Everyone else who's done it hasn't been able to. Like, when he fought the guy Christian Leroy Duncan, didn't take him down, obviously. AJ Dobson took him down a few times, but he did enough to win Petrosyan. And he didn't even get, there wasn't that much control time. Like, AJ Dobson took him down 3 times, didn't even have a minute of control time, RoboCop Rodriguez took him down twice, had like a minute 30 of control time. In his debut on the Contender Series, he got taken down a few times, and the guy had some control time, but he was picking him apart on the feet. And then Caio Borralho took him down, multiple times, and held him down for like the entirety of round 1, most of round 2, most of round 3. But that's the only time that's happened to him. So I just don't think I can see Vieira doing that. Like, I could see Vieira get I see Petrosyan stuffing the first takedown attempt, proud the second, maybe another one gets through. But then I think even when Vieira gets him down, I feel like Petrosyan's going to be able to just bounce back up and then kind of be fine. Like, have the confidence that I can stuff him, even if he catches me with a good one and takes me down. He's not going to, I can survive, and this guy won't be able to hold me down. So, yeah, I'm gonna go ahead and pick Petrosyan by decision. He's gonna get stuff the takedowns or get up and pick apart Rodolfo Vieira on the feet, possibly get a late TKO, but I'm gonna go with the decision for Armen Petrosyan. Now, next up is a fight that I'm personally very excited for: Caio Borralho versus Abus Magomedov. Now, similar to Rinat, I think that Caio Borralho is one of the most legit prospects in the sport, given his fight IQ and his well-rounded style. His wins over Mikhail Oleschechuk and Armen Petrosyan, as I mentioned before, have both aged very well, especially because of how dominant and clear they were. They weren't close fights at all. He went out and had their way with those guys, and both of those guys have gone on to win. I think they won. Yeah, they've both gone on to win their next fights. And Abus is good, but he got exposed against Strickland, which is I'm not going to compare Caio to Strickland, but he got absolutely put through the wood chipper against Sean Strickland, completely exposed his gas tank. And Abus's only real hope here would be to come out guns blazing and catch Caio cold like he did against Dustin Stoltzfus, back in France, like a while ago, got a 15-second KO. I don't really see that happening, and I wouldn't rely on that happening either against a guy like Caio, who's been in there with guys like Oleschechuk, who do have that one-shot KO power, and he has been able to stay away from the big shots, I just don't see it happening for Abus, and I'm going to go ahead and pick Caio by decision, dominant decision, 30-27 decision, or maybe even a round 3 sub if Abus gasses out like he did against Strickland. Next on the card that I'm going to be briefly going over is Rodrigo Nascimento versus Dante Almeida. Now, neither of these guys are really world beaters. Nascimento was on a bit of a run, and then he got chinned in 30 seconds by Chris Daukaus, who's not that good. And he has beaten Mays before by round 2 sub, and I don't see this fight going much differently. I'm going to go ahead and pick Nascimento by round 2 sub or maybe even round 1 sub, because I don't like Dante Mays. I think he's bad, and he's boring. So I think that Nascimento's going to go out there and just beat him up like he did the first time. Like Dante Mays has not had a performance since that fight with Nascimento where I'm like, oh my God, like this is the second coming of Mays. Like he's putting it all together now. Like no, it's the same old sloppy, chubby, like minimal technique, run-of-the-mill heavyweight that the UFC just has hundreds of, it appears like. Next fight is the co-main event that I'm pretty hyped for, Gabriel Bonfim versus Nicolas Dalby. Dalby does have some momentum. He's 8-1 in his last 9, but his wins haven't been over the best competition outside of Muslim Salikov, and he has a loss to Tim Means, which is not a good look. He's also 38, which is pretty old for middleweight, compared to Bonfim, who's 12 years younger at 26 and is on a tear, undefeated, absolute beast. He just beat Trevin Giles, dog walk Trevin Giles, worse than Dricus du Plessis, who smoked. Well, he didn't smoke him, but he starched Trevin Giles, and it took him longer to beat Trevin Giles, and that was a much closer fight. So pretty legit win for him. Before that, like a sub-minute submission on 283, where his brother fought as well. Before that, got a first round sub on the Contender Series. So the last 3 fights have all been first round subs, and 2 of them have been in a minute. So I don't see this fight lasting much longer. I honestly see him getting down Dalby in the first round and subbing him. I could see Dalby lasting that first round and surviving, but if it goes into the second round, I don't see Dalby getting out of that. I don't see this one going past the second, and I see Gabriel Bonfim getting a round 1 sub. Now, let's move on to the main event. Derek Lewis versus Jailton Almeida. Now, as much as I want to pick Derek Lewis by just standing up and just KOing Almeida stiff, the Spivak loss is a big one when it comes to this matchup, because Spivak just clinched up with Lewis, took him down immediately, and after some initial resistance and attempts to get up, Lewis just pretty much laid down and just gave up, while Sergey hunted for the arm triangle, which he did secure and used to finish the fight in just 3 minutes into the first round. So yeah, Almeida is just much more explosive and athletic than Sergey is. So if he's doing that to Lewis, Almeida's going to have his way with him, and he'll probably have an even easier time getting Lewis down. He's also very more strong. I don't know if he's more strong, but he's definitely more athletic than Sergey. So his top pressure is probably more than better than Sergey's, and Sergey's pressure made Lewis just completely fold. So I see Almeida blitzing Lewis early with the front kick to the body, then the blast double, getting into mount, throwing some elbows, getting the back, round 1 rear naked choke inside 3 minutes probably. I really don't see this fight lasting that long. But yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed this video. I'm going to make another video this week, and then I'm going to make a reactions video on Sunday to this card, and then I'll get out some content for you guys next week. And I'm also going to be recording some footage at UFC 295 because I'm going to be going there in person, like I said before. So yeah, I'll get some footage for you guys. But don't forget to leave a like, comment what your picks are. If you would disagree with any of mine, who's going to win how, let me know. I'll see you guys in the next one.